good afternoon. I'm Catherine Holcomb with St. Mary Excel, and today is our 7th and last business seminar this year. This seminar picks up from previous seminars which focused on historic and cultural tax credits. The seminars, which were financed through a USDA Rural Business Development Grant, were designed to follow up the Urban Land Institute study in 2018. That study outlined specific steps for our communities to take in order to grow and revitalize our economy. If this is your first St. Mary Excel seminar and you're interested in more about this topic, you can go to our YouTube channel and view the first and third seminar which introduced this information. Once again, we're happy to welcome our local talent, Morgan City native Gerard Bourgeois. He earned his finance degree from UL and a Juris Doctorate from Loyola. Gerard has over 25 years experience practicing law, and we are very lucky that he has chosen to do so right here in Morgan City. In fact, his office overlooks the beautiful Atchafalaya River and is located in the area of our community which is eligible for the historic and cultural tax credits he'll be telling you about. Thank you, Mr. Bourgeois.
And I didn't pay her for that introduction. It was very nice and certainly not warranted, but I do appreciate it. We were, you know, so I'm here really because in 2017 we bought a building on Front Street. It's a great area, you know, just really unique to the downtown area is a unique and you know, should be, you know, kind of one of the centers of the town, in an interesting area. We were fortunate to be able to buy the building. When, of course, old buildings require, you know, extra care and extra work, and so the program, that's the idea behind the historic, the commercial rehabilitation tax credits that Louisiana has been providing, is really to jumpstart, you know, these areas and get them moving back to a place that you know, it contributes to the area, contributes to society, contributes to the life of an area. Along, of course, with the cultural district that's been established in the area, the idea with the historic areas is that you can get a credit for some of the work that you've done on a building. The package that we have, I have on the screen, it says State of Louisiana 25% commercial rehabilitation tax credit. It's actually 20% now. That they changed it a few years ago when they were debating whether to keep it or not. But that's the premise behind the talk, is how do you get, you know, 20% of the cost of your project back? How do you build something that's in a unique, you know, area like the historic district, and make it functional again? So the first off, is it a historic property? In Morgan City, we're fortunate enough to have had somebody come in and determine that the area in downtown Morgan City at Front Street, roughly around Lawrence Park, is a historic area. So, you know, some places, if your building's over 50 years old, in any of the yellow areas, that these areas, you could look at participating in this program for your project. You know, I was thinking like Shannon School. Shannon School is not within the historic area outlined in pink in Morgan City, but it certainly would. Somebody had talked about condos for Shannon School. Somebody else had talked about a maritime academy. Either one of those that work would benefit from the historic tax credits that Louisiana program that it currently. provides. And so somewhat the historic nature of the building, or it contributes to the character of an area. You know, it feels like what's art. I don't know. But they're all preservation people that would come in and evaluate whether your building is significant, or what provisions of your building is significant. In our case, the main thing that we wanted to do is we ended up, my cousin, who's an accountant, had a couple of these projects that they were not funded despite the historical significance of the project, because they didn't take it, the construction process took away some of the key historical features. I was a little leery of doing this work at all, or attempting to get the credits. But we did. We filed a certification of contributing status with the Division of Historic Preservation, and that's the first step. And so we filed this part one. There's 3 parts to the process, or they give you three pieces to the application. Again, all contained in a book that they'll hand out. It's on the website for the cultural and historic people. I did want to go over this application. It's not that complicated. Basically, we're putting the name of the property and the address of the property and where we're located. We're in the Morgan City Cultural District, or the Historic District of Morgan City. And we want the request is to the Division of Historic Preservation for somebody to come and look at the property and determine that it is significant to the area. It contributes to the significance of an area. Not that it's a great building. It can just be, shaker style, and that would be something that's not commonly built now, and that would be okay. Again, you have to have people who have at the Division of Historic Preservation tell you that, but I've seen the shaker buildings being approved. Project contact, it would be the owner or the contractor on the building, of course, and who's it owned by. You need to have that information on that part one. I don't know if I can roll up. I can't roll up. I forgot about that. And then, so we're given some. This is the fun part for me. I'm not a artsy kind of person. I'm a direct person, I believe, and so describing the physical appearance of the building and what we were planning on doing exactly was a little bit difficult, but I put down what I thought they were looking for: 2-story building with a somewhat of a concrete facade on the front, and where it was located. And then the big thing is there was the photographs. Now that they may not come to your property. They didn't come to mine until the project was finished. That apparently was a no-no, and I should have had them there earlier. But the photographs saved me. There's a description again in the booklet, in the state commercial booklet somewhere is in there. It talks about, there's a guide about exactly how you take your pictures, and the pictures are in the corners. Oh, here it is. In the corners of the room, you take it. They give you real easy examples, exactly how the picture is supposed to be taken on the front side and the back side, and you draw a little outline of how you take in the pictures, and then you match them up with the numbers. So if I took, this is photograph number 9, I should have a photograph looking out the window in the front room. And the same thing with 12, looking at the fireplace, looking at the corner. they seem to like windows. They want you to keep the windows that are the old windows. Don't want you to redo the windows. If you have any sort of historical features like a fireplace, that's why they've taken a picture of that too. That you're to repair them as best you can in like manner as to what's presented, and the windows, you know, they have descriptions of somebody going back and finding reused lumbers from a house and verifying that was used as the base of the window. Again, I was lucky that I didn't have to do any of those sorts of things. As far as rebuilding windows, ours were in good condition. The big things that weren't, you know, in good condition is the roof. It was leaking on the parapets, the top wall, the back wall, and then in the main roof itself that it hadn't been replaced in a while. They did give us, the building has 12 skylights, and my brother Michael found a 13th skylight. We opened that up, and my wife found a stained glass window, and we used that as the skylight in the building, and as the new skylight, and we were given credit for that. Again, the importance of the phase 1 to us was that the part 1 application it was filed with the Division of Historic Preservation. So any work after that, if it was qualified as historic preservation work, we got credit for it. You know, again, not again. I guess they won't give you any credit for landscaping, anything on the outside, you know, roads, driveways, and demolition work, whatever that exactly means. You know, sometimes that was hard to differentiate demolition work from regular work when somebody's doing, you know, an hour demolition and 6 hours of construction. But that's, again, if you don't have that application, part 1 application into the Division of Historic Preservation, you know, you don't get credit. So we did some things before that application was filed. We got 0 credit for that work. And then, you know, you got to keep your receipts. Let me see what's next. I'm gonna go to the part 2, I guess. Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, whatever you want.
So the stained glass, the 13 stained glass, that was sort of a lanyard. That was
For us, it was.
for y'all,
Yes,
it was, yeah.
absolutely.
So if you can preserve 3/4 of it, and something happens, and I'll say the windows, like it's rotten, or can that still?
That's hard to say for me to say.
Right.
Because the building, I think everybody who comes in the building likes the fact that we expose the brick on the staircase and put in a new staircase. But we were told that was not historic to the time period, right. That people would not have taken off the cement off the brick, and but because we had such a big project and it was deemed to be a smaller part of it, that overall we were still significant. We were still keeping with the times. But if we went any further, we were going to have to cover up another wall with them and with historical preservation, because they didn't think that this was and so if you can't preserve a window, you almost, you know, it's a question of how much everything else is historically significant. We got down to saying at the end, again, that we changed out some windows on the front, but doors from a single door to a double door, to having changed that, to having to change that back to a single door, so the facade looked similar to what it looked like before our construction process. Even though it was updated, even though it was better, we want to go back to a single door, and we'll say it meets the compliance, is in compliance with the project. And so again, we didn't do it correctly. You're supposed to go to them with a plan. You're supposed to stick to the plan. We see this window. We're gonna fix it, and this is how we're gonna do it. And they should look at it and approve it, and then because I was gonna build it whether we get the historic tax credits or not, but it made it easier to swallow that we did get the historic tax credits. Because frankly, there was a guess on where we're gonna be with the funding. There was a worst case, and there's where we ended up, which passed it, and so the historic tax credits helped get us back closer to the worst case on funding, as the old building will do. I probably went further than the other question you were asking.
No,
Okay. So, let's see, the part two of the application, again, is where we somewhat messed up, because the proposed work. What we sent in and what we ended up doing at risk was different. So again, on this part two of the application, we say the name of the property at the heading, and then talk about the building. It was constructed on a certain time, 1910. The type of construction is different because it's got a common wall, and it's using big beams in the center that really hold up the weight with the concrete, with the brick walls. And then the uses of the building before rehabilitation. I remember as an appliance store and then of course Plantation Treasures. We found out after White's Auto was there before me, and a little 5 and dime, and the owner of the residence, the owner of the property, I lived up there at one point in time. But anyway, they want to know what roads uses after rehabilitation, and we intended it initially to keep the property as offices down. We'll put offices in downstairs and keep the upstairs as it was as a residence that was done by the Leapreys. Estimated cost of rehabilitation. How many phases? I was assuming it's going to be one phase. We were going to get everything done right. Project start date, completion date. Again, project contact, who owns it, is listed there. And then they ask you to detail the description of the rehabilitation work that you're going to do to the property. Again, they would take drawings, take pictures, take samples of like the doors. If I had the doors, I would have sent the doors drawings to the Division of Historic Preservation, and I wouldn't have had to spend money at the end to fix that door. Contrary to what you hear about, they really don't care about paint colors, even though maybe the local historical district does care about paint colors. They do care about paint type. So that's something I didn't know about either. If you're painting bricks or you're putting materials over bricks, there's a factor about does the paint breathe, and there should be that on these old buildings, or you risk causing a failure of the brick wall. So again, they talk about describe all work, even though you're doing landscaping and they don't pay for that. They're asking you to let them know what that is. You run a new sewer line, it doesn't affect the interior, but you get credit for it if you do. So some things seem like you shouldn't have to include it, but like I said, you do. If you're going to impact a feature that's of significance, and most of that in our building was the upstairs but because the first floor was pretty much wide open, or not of anything interesting quality downstairs, and which was nice. But if you're going to make some changes to something, like I said, brick manels or unique features to the home or the residence, you need to you should let them know that ahead of time, and how it's going to impact that feature and what you're going to do to correct it. Like I said, the bank has lots of old windows. I went to the bank and got a window, or whatever that would be. As I say, the bank in New Orleans. There's some places you can just buy those old kind of things, and it just goes on. The drawings. So assuming you have an architect, all this is good. If it is a little bit easier. Of course, you're paying an architect to fill out the features and the description of the work. It keeps going. Let's see. That's it. So you can keep on. You can keep adding pages to it, explaining to them the work. I forgot to mention the big thing too is it's got to be income producing property. So if it's a house, you can rehabilitate a house and bring it back to the condition that you like to see it, and you'll get the credits. But it's got to be rental, property, not someplace where you're planning to live. Now there's no impact if you convert it to a residential property after. It's got to be with the intention of being a rental property, and you need to be renting it. I don't know how they would, tell you at some point in time you got to give it back, but presumably, I'd advise you to go 5 years or something, because that's how long the credits with the feds last. And while we talk about the federal program, a little bit more complicated now that they do the same sort of review. Is it culturally significant? If it's older than 50 years, as a Louisiana Department of Historic Preservation will do. So you're not, the review isn't necessarily harder if you go on to the feds, but the standard is different about repair, and your credits are a little different too. So the feds will allow you to stack the state, to do both programs at the same time. It seems to be that you got to have you do have to have a bigger project with the feds, over $500,000. As the state, your project can be $10,000. It seems like it'd be too much work to try to get $2,000 from the state, filling out all the forms. But maybe if you have a simple project, a roof project or something, maybe that's worth doing with the state. So back again on the feds give you 4% over 5 years. So the state, what happens at the end, if this project's certified and approved, and they audit your records, you get a credit that you can use that year. On the federal one, it's a 4% over 5 year credit. So just one more thing on the part two. Again, if you had plans, if you had a real good idea what you were doing, the part two is easy. You submit your plans and with some additional pictures, and you would probably be good. The one thing, I suppose you wouldn't submit the part two until you submitted the part one and you felt like it was worthwhile. They do charge a fee. That they'll calculate that fee, they being the Division of Historic Preservation, when you send in your part one. They send you back a notice and they say you your project is up to 200, it's up to 100, it's $250, past 100,000, you pay 250 plus 1.5% of the credit, of the amount above there. So it gets to be that you'll receive. I just let them calculate it because I wasn't sure where we end up being, but it shows there's a cap at. I hope somebody does the one where it's a cap of $15,000. And again, it would be that's the kind of things that this program could help as a big project. I hope somebody does get do the big project and of a historically significant building in our area that it brings something to us when you bring back these old buildings. In some communities, these downtown development districts have really move things along in those areas. And one good example is New Iberia. Most of that area downtown was all revitalized when Paul Allen took over a Ford dealership that had been sitting vacant for a long time, and sort of helped some other people get these buildings rehabilitated. If you go in the downtown New Iberia, there's a lot of nice historical buildings that are being occupied, being used every day. And like I said, I think that's the goal of the program, not just to give the owner back some credits. But let's see, on part 3 is sort of the request for project certification, and that one, you're back. You're talking about the name of the property and then the when the project was started, when it's completed. There's a dollar amount of which you're asking for back from, and then it's a listing of in detail what money you spent on the projects. So your contractor's bid would go in there, all your, you bought doors, you bought whatever you bought, you break it down into little sections of what you put on the part 2 application about what things you're going to rehabilitate and how you did them and didn't or didn't do, which I filed part 3 application and the application amendment at the same time saying, we changed our minds. Instead of building just a regular offices downstairs, on the first floor of the property, that we instead are going to go up, put the offices upstairs, except for a couple conference rooms downstairs and a reception area. And so I basically changed the project at the end, at the time of submission, to let the Division of Historic Preservation know that we had gone in this different direction. Not saying it was an afterthought, but we were trying to get moved and get things moving along and trying to get credits that you may or may not get. Didn't seem wasn't first on our list, but this was a nice thing. We took our shot. We had the records of what money we spent. If it's under, and the key thing with it also was it was under $500,000. Our project or the certification was the construction part, so it doesn't include the cost to build the cost to purchase the property. I didn't mention that, but so it's just the construction that you're getting that 20% on. You can get it on some attorney's fees if it was for zoning, if it was some other things, but really, acquisition costs, aren't included, landscape and anything sort of outside the area. And not the facade. The facade you do get credit for in particular, but landscaping right in front of the facade doesn't get any credit for. So, with this amendment, we were able to say, we built conference rooms, we built a reception area, built a staircase, which was put back in. Interestingly, the old staircase used to go straight out the front door, so it was much steeper when it was a doctor's office upstairs than our staircase is now, meeting current rules on I guess the angle and the run of the steps that you have to have now to meet the OSHA or ADA requirements. So I guess we're talking about part 3. That's a minute. Part 3 would basically just submission with pictures of what you did, copies of all the records. We put it on a disk and with an Excel spreadsheet, and just started putting the invoices, kind of almost in order of some of the work that was done, but in date order for sure. Submitted it, and after submission, that's when the Division of Historic Preservation came down and did the next step, or that they were supposed to do after the part 1, if I had called them, and they reviewed the building and reviewed some of the work, and were helpful about things that we needed to do. I mentioned that the doors on the front, that was the biggest piece that they made us change in the project. Also, the deck of the building was unfinished underneath, and they wanted that painted. That was pretty much the extent of it. I'm trying to. So the project, here's a good application process timeline. I think after Hurricane Ida that they're not meeting these timelines. There's some argument that that's true, but they're only supposed to take 30 days to review your part 1 and your part 2. And then once the project is complete, that they're only supposed to take 30 days to review your part 3 submission. Again, that's your completed the work, here's the bills, here's what we did, here's what it looks like, and they'll send you a fee request too at that time if you're over or under your estimate. So that happened to us again because we changed the project so much. And again, 30 days after you mail in the fee, they'll give you your final determination. Once you get your final determination, they send a letter out and say, basically, congratulations, you've been funded. You are entitled to go to the Department of Revenue right now, and talk to them about the credits. So the Department of again, the credits aren't $20,000 they give you. It's tax credits. It's not a set off on your taxes directly. You can sell the credits for 93 cents on the dollar to third parties. If you want to, there's a process for that. You got to get with your accountant or your attorney to make that transfer, because it is a little complicated. But there's some forms, and you got to submit the sheet that they gave you, the Department of Revenue and Taxation sent to you with your credits, and there's a registry, and you send in a little fee when you make transfers. You can, of course, use them on your own state income tax return or the business's tax return if that's helpful to you. In that case, you get 100%, of the credit. So if you turn in 10 grand in your state tax income, that they take off $10,000 of state taxes that are due. So it's a very nice credit. It's not just can be used, for other work. I just looked at, so we talked about the photographs and the description of the work. I'm gonna go back to this little package for a little while, but like roof and foundation, that has nothing to do with the appearance. The gutters and downspouts may have to do with the appearance and the weatherboards and the porch and the exteriors, but so they want to see some of this work, where you got to detail, the work that's listed here. Trim in particular is a big deal, or the molding, I'm sorry, because most places will have, if it's residential, they'll have molding to the time, and so they look at that sort of stuff. And the plaster work also is a lot of times is to the time, but they'll let you update your kitchen as long as it didn't have, you didn't destroy, really big historical features. Again, plumbing and HVAC systems, that sort of stuff. You're expected to bring your building up to modern conveniences, even if it affects some historical structures. Some of the hardware too is important. They could, if you changed out cabinets and that sort of stuff. We got a little worried that we changed out the cabinets hardware and it wasn't in compliance with what it should look like for the time period. Again, if we did, and now to think about it, that was a thing, and just little things that catch you, like hardware on doors is a something that to be looking out for. If you had a plan, you could be better off. This is a good example of in the package they lay out exactly how you're supposed to submit your part one. And they did a much better example of what they were planning on doing in this example. Of course, it's the 130 Carondelet, which was an old bank building. It was a big project. They had preservation specialists, that helped them fill this out. Exactly, the significance of it was completed in 1921. It was one of the tallest buildings in New Orleans. We don't have all that, and it's not necessary, I guess, is the point. But it was a little intimidating, but they don't expect. The division doesn't seem to expect you to be preservation specialist. Just fill it out as best you can. And again, if you submit your part one, you got a chance to get credit for the historic building work. If you don't submit your part one until you start your construction, you don't get any credit for any of that work. And then the proposed work, again, they have, it's a big project, $62.1 million project. That would be real nice in the area. It would make a big change for lots of people. They're only letting you do it up to like $5 million, and I think they went down to 1.2 recently. Again, doesn't matter to me because I wasn't in there. The difference between the $500,000 project and a $600,000 rehabilitation project is you do have to get a certified accountant to submit the request for reimbursements and to certify some of the things, and they got to go through that. And so you wouldn't, once you get to a certain point, you got to start hiring professionals, architects and or CPAs to help you do that. This is again as an example in the packet, the Nottoway plantation, and they talk about the Greek revival style and lots of things like that. about, it being nationally significant, architecture. Again, I think we have some pretty buildings around Morgan City that would, could qualify for rehabilitation credits if they were income producing. But, most of the nice houses aren't, they're lived in, which is a good thing for an area too, but if you wanted to make some improvements, it's gotta be to income producing property. So, I think that's the main outline of what I was trying to do is again, you have to get your project, your part one in, if you're in a historic area, and just, see if it's worth pursuing. You should have an answer within 30 days. If the project in the historic district that you're hiring an architect to do, it's worthwhile proceeding. I know that if you want to make major changes to the building, you're not going to be able to use these credits. Somewhere is in between there and minor changes, you got to ask these people for their review. Not,
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay. So
Please.
if I wanted to find it has to be in the historic district.
Okay,
You
no, it
mentioned
doesn't have to be the
Shannon
historic district, but with the historic district, the nice thing about it is that it's easy to get the part one through. Okay, so if you're not in the historic district, you're part one, and you're older than 50 years old, you gotta explain a little better about why it's historical. Some politician lived there, some cultural figure lived there. The architecture of the building was significant. What about the water plant? It could be, down Front Street. It could be redone. It's certainly older than 50 years. There was some historical, some character to it. But you would submit the Part 1 application, see if it qualifies. I think, there's a house on I think Federal or 2nd Street that's on the National Historic District. Again, if it was income producing, no brainer. If it's older than, but most people outside the historic district, if you're gonna get it, you need to demonstrate why it would be historically significant. So there was I think Dr. Daniel's property shows up as historically, significant piece of property. He's living in it, or maybe his family does. There's so if it's not that, you have to. It's just a little bit harder step, but you certainly can use the credits if you were in the cultural district, or you were found to be historically significant.
So just to clarify for me, because I'm slow, Shannon School,
Yes.
for example, could be historic.
It certainly could be historical.
Yes, if
It is
people-
not now.
Right.
It's not
Right,
considered
it's not
that now because nobody's made a designation. To me, again, what's art?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I know when you see it. I know this is art. Some of this other stuff I wouldn't know. Shannon School is a historical building.
Very
I'm sure of
historical.
that.
Yeah.
I say I'm sure of that. Again, you gotta have that person with the initial
I'll
behind
say
the name
it.
to say that.
And-
But
yeah.
everything I've seen, it looks
Right.
historical. It would make it. And so you would file the application. And that's another thing. So if the city did it, if some school district did it, you can still use the credits and you can sell them. They allow people to do that. So but the big problem with Shannon is gonna be finding somebody to fund it.
Right.
It's like with anything around here. We had the opportunity zone credits, we had Trump's, the building credits. Nobody came in here with a big sale of money, and they wanted to divert their income for 10 years.
Right.
It would have been very, I was hoping for something with that opportunity zone, that we would have gotten, somebody who wanted to divert taxes for a long time, and maybe make them go away. We didn't.
So if you did that, and that was the other question I had, about the selling the credits for 97, or is it not about 97?
Well,
97 of the
I
dollars,
said 90 cents, 92 cents.
or whatever it
The
is.
state will buy them from you for 85 cents.
Okay.
And so for a time, you could get them, you know, like movie credits for 88 cents. It's the same sort of program. But it seems like they're a lot less available now that they cut down the movie credit program, and the prices are you know, last I saw was 92 cents.
And when you say movie credit, you mean filming credit?
The film, the movie credit program, that you know, that's the same kind of thing. If you come in and spend X amount of dollars, the state will give these movie production companies this credit to take off their state income taxes, where they don't have state income taxes here or not much. And so they sell them to brokers, and brokers sell them to individual taxpayers. But the state will buy them for 85 cents. That's a guarantee. So if you don't need them, worst case scenario is still 85 cents on the dollar. Still, so that's 18%, I think.
So but I personally, if I own the business, or I can sell that to somebody else, or I could use it, I can use it for
on
my
your
own
own tax,
personal
right.
taxes.
And that's at 100%.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, let's see, what did we say, 20% of the buildings, 10,000 times 0.2 times, so 1,700. Yeah, and so, you know, the worst case scenario is 17 cents on the dollar.
Okay, I have one more question, I don't want to ask you any more.
You can answer all you want, because I think my program's kind of done. Like
Okay.
I did most of it, I think, unless you.
No, okay, if you gave, like, could you use fake numbers? Like, if it cost me this much money to purchase, which I know the purchase price does not count, purchase and then renovate in my historic properties, and how that would pay off in 5 years using fake numbers. Like,
Oh, would
'cause
you like
it's
me to use fake
worthwhile.
numbers? Oh,
Right.
yeah, not
Right.
fake, not
Right.
mine, okay. Yeah, sure, so, you know, easy deal is $400,000 is what the cost of rehabilitation on the project was, and that's what was allowed, because again, they may come in, they say, you know, you use $2,000 demolition work or something, we're not gonna give you that credit. You know, whatever they don't approve, but let's say, okay, I got $400,000, $400,000, 20%, credit, you know, basically it's $80,000. So we're taking $80,000, you know, I can only use $5,000 or $10,000 of this credit this year. I got 5 years to do it. So maybe we keep 50, you know, and so, or we keep, you know, 50. Maybe we keep 5 a year or something, $25,000. You sell the rest. So $25,000 comes off your taxes as tax savings. And then the other part, in that example, we have $55,000 times point. I sell them for 92 cents. I get $50,600. You know, to put in my pocket to go to the casino.
So, okay, okay. Oh, but I guess I was thinking, when you said sell them, I guess you would get the money for it.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to count that as income because the
You
credit.
do count it as
Oh, you do,
income,
okay.
yeah. Now that's the problem. So the state, the feds count this as income, but the state doesn't unless you take the credits off.
Okay.
So it's a little different, but
Well,
it's still
money.
Still free
That's
money.
That's still a lot of money. Well, thank
Right.
you very much, Gerard. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Dubois.
you.
That's very interesting. I wish I had,
It's fun.
A lot
That's
of
right. I
money.
wish we had the project. I wish we had another project to do because it's fun.
yes, to go buy something or get something going.
Yeah.
Well, very interesting topic. And this concludes the USDA-supported St. Mary Excel Design Business Seminar Series. We'd like to thank Mr. Gerard Bourgeois and Mr. Tim Mott for their expertise. Please look for individualized business support, which is also being funded by the USDA Rural Development, Rural Business Grant, in the spring of 2022. And you can also go to our St. Mary Excel YouTube channel and subscribe to see all 7 seminars and share them with your friends and relatives and anybody who's interested in starting a business in the area or continuing their business. You can also see our other videos, including the ULI presentation from 2018 and other efforts we're making to improve the community, which include trying to promote the Louisiana National Estuary Research Reserve in St. Mary Parish and furthering the St. Mary Parish Resilience Lab. And we also have many other goals that need your community involvement and support.